Hi everyone, Dragner here. I managed to dig out this footage of when I had my Honorcore TGR2 Ronin. Thought I might use it to do a review of this particular marker. Now, first things first, apologies, there's a date and time counter in the bottom left hand corner of the video, and yes, it's not right. Unfortunately, I don't have my SJ cam set up correctly in this particular game. Anyway, enough about that. Let's get on and have a look at this marker that I'm using here. Like I said, this is the Honorcore TGR2. This particular model is the Ronin model. It's the full-length model. If you look at it in comparison to a standard TGR2, the foregrip and rail is much longer. This marker looks like a full-length battle rifle. It really does look like a proper marksman's weapon. And in all honesty, you can use it as a marksman's weapon. It is fairly good at longballing because, like a lot of mag-fed guns, it does have slightly better accuracy when compared to speedballers.
Loading!
Now, just like with Milsig markers and a lot of Tiberius markers, the Honorcore TGR2 uses continuous feed magazines. They're reasonably heavy duty and they contain 18 rounds. Unlike the Milsigs mags, where you have one magazine for standard 68 caliber paintballs and another magazine for first strike rounds, the Honorcore's magazines will do both 68 caliber paintballs and first strike rounds. This is both a good and a bad thing. I'll get onto that a little bit later though. Now, on the topic of magazines, you can expect to get about 8 18-round mags through this marker. This is one of the things that really impressed me about the TGR2. Its air efficiency is excellent. If you watch the previous review video I did where I looked at the Milsig, a 13 cubic inch bottle will get about 100 shots through it. The TGR2 you'll manage to do about 150. And just like most mag-fed guns, the 13 cubic inch bottle screws directly into the back of the marker and actually makes up part of the stock. Again, this obviously means that the marker looks much better and has a much better balanced setup. Now, unfortunately, this is where some of the problems start to come in. I've mentioned in the previous videos that mag-fed markers are much harder on paint. The TGR2, personally, I have found to be brutally hard on paint. The problem here is obviously it's a mag-fed gun, so the magazines put your paint under spring tension, but not only that, the TGR2 itself actually uses technology called stacked tube blowback. Now, I actually own a tournament style marker which is stacked tube blowback technology, and I can attest to the fact that this is actually one of the harder technologies on paint. You'll find you'll break a lot more balls with it, so combining magazine feed technology with stacked tube blowback technology is not a particularly great combination. This problem is also compounded by the detents inside of this marker. Now, in every single paintball marker you have what are called detents. These detents stop paintballs from simply just rolling down the end of the barrel. In most markers they're made up of soft rubber studs which poke in at either sides of the breech. Essentially they stop the paintball from just simply rolling away. However, in the TGR2 for some reason they've chosen to use spring steel wire detents. This basically means that every single time you pull the trigger, the bolt goes home, pushes the paintball through these detents, which is essentially like passing it through a pair of razor blades, and then a burst of air is released. Naturally, this of course means you're going to get a lot more breaks. To give you some comparison here, my Milsig, which is the mag-fed marker that I currently use, the first time I ever took that out, I put about 400 shots through it. I only got one break. With the TGR2 here, the first time I ever used this, I put about another 400 shots through this, and I got over a dozen breaks. It was pretty awful. I know some people will comment probably saying, well, did you use the correct grade of paint? Did you try overboring the marker? Have you tried cutting down the springs in the magazines to try and reduce the tension on the paint stack? Is the marker perfectly clean inside and out when you take it out? Believe me, I tried absolutely everything. I even actually tried 5 different grades of paint, all of which were touted as mag-fed grade paint. Nothing was working, unfortunately. Which I found rather odd, to be honest, because before buying this marker I read a huge number of reviews, did a lot of research, and no one was really reporting excessive numbers of paintballs breaking inside of the marker. I don't know if it was a case of I just got a particularly bad one, but in all honesty I found this marker really difficult to use in any game of paintball, and I spent huge amounts of time cleaning it, back in the safe zone, stripping it down and pulling it apart just to make sure I could get absolutely everything inside of it spotless.
Shit.
Another good aspect of this marker, however, is that on the lower receiver you can see here there are a couple of plastic windows. These windows allow you to see inside of the breech of the marker, so you can always tell if you've got paint ready to fire. And also you can see from my ones, my windows are filled with paint at the moment. Obviously you can tell when you've had a ball break inside of the breech and you need to clean it out. Another thing that I did like about this marker, and I'm sure you've noticed, this thing is loud. It's got a real throaty whack every time you pull the trigger, and I'm not sure if you've noticed the camera wobble, but it's also got quite a bit of recoil. The trigger on this thing is really quite heavy. I mentioned earlier about how having magazines that accommodate both first strike rounds and 68 caliber paintballs could be a bad thing. This is because first strike round magazines need tougher springs. Obviously tougher springs means more tension on the paintball stack.
Shit!
Yep, that's the second ball broken inside of the marker, so now I've got to give it a good clean out. Now the proper way to clean out a break when you get inside of a magazine fed marker like this, drop the magazine out, remove the barrel, swab the barrel, dump the next couple of rounds out of the magazine, and then you're good to go again. Unfortunately I don't do it properly here, and as you can see, because I haven't done it properly, the next ball just breaks inside of the marker as well. Fun fact, the muzzle brake on the end of this marker is actually a breeching choke. Now you usually find breeching chokes on shotguns, the idea being that the breeching choke has serrated teeth on it. This is so that you can wedge the end of the barrel into the frame of the door and you won't slip off. Obviously this is so you can blow the door off its hinges. Not particularly relevant for a paintball marker, but I suppose you could go up to someone and barrel tag the shit out of them with it. Now, I would have liked the barrel threads on this marker to be an autococker thread. Unfortunately, they decided to go for A5 threads. This isn't too bad. There's still plenty of choice for A5 threads, but autococker are definitely more prevalent. It's important to clean the breech out here as well. If you've got bits of broken shell inside of the magazine well, the next paintball won't cycle into the breech properly. This is just going to cause you to break another ball. Good to go again. Now for some reason the marker's dry firing here. The magazine has got paint in it, but for some reason it's not feeding. This can happen if the release catch on the magazine isn't engaged properly. If the magazine isn't pushed all the way up into the magazine well, it won't push down on the spring release or potentially the detent that allows the paint out of the magazine. Yep, another broken paintball. Time to clean the barrel out again. Now, with this number of breaks occurring inside of the marker, you're going to want to pull it apart in order to clean it up properly. In all honesty, Honorcore do quite a good job of this. The entire marker is held together using push pins, and just like an actual real AR-15 assault rifle, the upper and lower receiver actually separate and allow you to get access to every single part of the marker. This makes cleaning out not too bad, and you don't need many tools to be able to pull it apart. The build quality of this marker is also excellent. It really does feel like a nice solid piece of kit. The upper receiver is primarily made out of metal, whereas the lower receiver is made out of an injection molded polymer. It's a heavyweight, very tough injection molded polymer, however, so it really does feel like a quality product. It's really easy to customize as well. You can fit anything on here from mock suppressors. You can see I've got my EOTech holographic sight on there. It'll also accept all sorts of foregrips. One thing I should point out, however, you'll notice on the foregrip part of the marker, the handguard, I don't actually have any Picatinny rails on there. whenever you see this marker advertised, it's always shown with Picatinny rails attached to the front of it. It's a little bit deceptive because it doesn't actually come with them. You're going to need to buy those separately. They're not too expensive, but it is a little bit misleading, I find. Yep, this magazine is a mess. It is completely filled with paint. It's going to need a good clean up before using it again.
Left side, left side! Shit.
After 150 shots, it's finally run out of air. It doesn't have enough air pressure to cycle the recocking mechanism, so I'm having to do it by hand. Unfortunately though, it means my shots have got no punch anymore and I'm finally out. Well, that's my review of the TGR2. In summary, I would say this is a really nice marker, but the barrel braking means that I personally found that I couldn't use it in a game. I think if Honorcore were to change the detents in it for a pair of soft rubber detents, lower the spring tension in the magazines, and provide a ramped feeding bolt for the stack tube blowback mechanism, I think this marker could be really, really excellent. For now, however, in all honesty, I would recommend that rather than selecting a TGR2, I would probably recommend going for something like a Mil-Sig CQC. It's about the same price, if not a little bit cheaper, and the heat core system in it is much better compared to the TGR2. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time.